I did not graduate from IIT, I did not graduate from NIT, and I did not graduate from any premium colleges like BITS Pilani. I graduated from a very simple college called LPU or Lovely Professional University. I'm sure you all have heard this name or watched the advertisement of LPU on your TV. The reason I call it a simple college is because all the students that get inside LPU are not extraordinary. It accepts all kind of students. If you have 50% in your 10th standard or in your 12th standard, you can get admission within LPU. And if you have 99% in your 10th standard or 12th standard, then also you can get into LPU. So it was a simple college, but the reason I could not get a placement into Google in my college life was not LPU, was not my tier 3 college, it was me. Because of me, I could not get into Google when I was going through my college life. And I already have created a video on that, the 5 mistakes of my college life that costed me my dream job. So you can check out that video right here. I'm not sure where it will come. So there will be a card coming on top of this video and you can check out that video. Now in this video, I'm going to talk about my journey from LPU to Google. So let's start. So let's start with a simple introduction of mine. If we haven't met before, then I'm Manish Chaudhary. I run this YouTube channel where I share my technical content. I create content on all type of web technologies and I'm planning to create content on data structures and algorithms as well. So first, let's discuss about why I couldn't get into Google when I was in college. The primary reason of me not getting into Google was my lack of knowledge on data structures and algorithm, the most important skill that you need to get into Google as a software engineer. I always ran behind these technologies like C++ and Java, which you definitely need, of course, if you want to be a software engineer. But more than these, you want to build your problem solving skills. You want to train your mind to approach a problem, and that's what Google needs. So focus more on data structures and algorithms if you are a student and are still in college. But if you are a working professional like me, then it's not too late. You can still build your problem solving skills. You can still build your knowledge on data structures and algorithm. You can practice one algorithm for few days and then you can move to the next one. And this way you will start training your mind and you will start knowing how to approach a problem. One thing that I was sure of, if I want to get into my dream company, then I need to work on my problem solving skills and I need to work more with the different type of data structures and algorithms. It takes time to build your problem solving skills and it takes time to train your mind. DSA is not another programming language that you can learn in matter of days. You need to work hard and you need to be consistent. And that's what I did. I set up a goal for me that I want to be a part of Google after 1 year and I started preparing for the Google interviews. The reason I gave myself such a long time was because I wanted to give it my best shot. Plus, I never solved these DS and algorithm problems before, so I wanted to work on as many problems as I could before, actually appearing for the interview. And that's why I set a goal for to apply for a software engineer job in Google after an year. So I came up with a draft plan that I'm going to follow so and so strategy and this is what is going to take me into Google. But it didn't work out because as soon as I started searching for these video tutorials, there was so much content out there. There were so many different people who was teaching the exact same thing and all of them were having different type of strategy. So I started following one guy. I followed his strategy. I started, exploring the topics, what he was teaching. And soon after a few days, I started getting a random video on my, suggestions and I started following that guy. And he was also a successful guy. He was also into Google and he was also, putting out some nice content out there. So I started following his strategy and that thing kept going on. So I was part of, or I was a victim of tutorial hell. So the tutorial hell means like you are simply watching the content out there and doing nothing. And that was the same problem with my problem solving skills as well. I went to different type of portals, like there was InterviewBit, there's LeetCode, and there's HackerRank. So I went to all these different type of portals and started solving random problems. And I was, it used to get me couple of, more than 2 or 3 hours to solve one single problem. And again, the outcome I was getting after solving these many problems was very less, because as soon as I was going for the next problem, my mind was blank. The learning from the previous problem was not helping in my next problem. So as I said, I was a victim of tutorial hell at that time, and I had to change my strategy. I could not, go through countless videos out there. I could not go through, or I cannot solve all the problems out there. I had to pick only few videos. I had to pick only few problems that I can focus on. So that's when I started drafting out my strategy again. And this was after a couple of months since when I started preparing for the Google interviews. And this time what I did, before I could learn these different type of algorithms, I started learning the data structures first. So I noted down all the data structures that we can build on our own, like there's linked list, there's hash maps, there is, queues, stacks, and all that kind of data structures. So I picked my language, Java, and I started, building these data structures in Java itself. So for example, let's talk about building queues. So instead of, using the queues that comes out of the box with Java language, I started writing the code to create my own queues, my own custom queues that support all type of operations, like enqueue operation where you can insert the data in the queue, or dequeue operation where you can remove the data from the queue. So here I'm just taking an example of queue, but there were different type of data structures that I was building on my own. And I followed the tutorials from William Fissette. All his videos are free on YouTube. I'm going to give you the link in the description of this video. You can watch his videos, and he was building out all these data structures in Java language from scratch. And I really liked the way he was explaining these different data structures, how to build those on your own, what are the different edge cases we need to take care of. So I definitely recommend all the content from William Fissette. You can find the link in the description. So this is what worked out for me. Every day I used to pick one video of William Fissette's course on data structures and algorithm, and I used to find 10 different problems revolving around the same topic. So this way I used to learn a new topic, and then I used to solve the problems revolving around the same topic, and I used to build my problem solving skills, and I started seeing the pattern as well. So whenever I used to see a problem, let's say if you solve 5 different problems on the same topic, when you go for the 6th one, you will see the pattern there. And as soon as you will see it, now your mind knows that whenever I'm going to see this type of problem, I need to apply this algorithm, or I need to solve it using this data structure. So I skipped the tutorial hell. Instead of going through those countless videos, I stick to only one single course. And instead of going through all these different portals like InterviewBit, HackerRank, and LeetCode, I only focused on LeetCode, and I used to solve all these problems on LeetCode itself. And here as well, I did not purchase the LeetCode subscription. I only used to solve the free problems that are there on their portal. So everyone has different strategy. This is what worked out for me, and you can also try it out if it works out for you. So now the most important part, how to get shortlisted for a job at Google. Because we all apply for a position into Google, but only few of us get a call. So here I'll be talking about 2 things. The first thing is to get a referral. If you don't have a referral, you can go ahead and apply, but the chances are very less that you will get a call from Google HR or Google Recruiter. Getting a referral increases your chance to get a call from Google Recruiter. So always try to get a referral for yourself. And if you don't know anyone who is working in Google, then you can find these people on LinkedIn, and you can just send them a message or approach them and tell them that you want to apply for a particular position into Google. Make sure that you include the job link, and also include your experience and why you are eligible for that particular job, because not everyone will be ready to give you a referral into Google. So make sure that you make your pitch and you make your message crystal clear before you approach these people. And now the second thing, and that is about your resume. And I'm going to break a stereotype here. Everyone says that you need to have one single page resume before you apply for a job into Google, but I applied with a two-page resume and it worked out. Make sure that your resume highlights your achievements, the impact you made in your previous organization, and all your experience. It should have all your skills and any extracurricular activities you have been part of. So you need to make it clear inside your resume, and it doesn't matter whether it is a single page resume or two page resume. I would suggest that you don't make your resume more than 2 pages long. And here I'm not saying that you won't be shortlisted. It's just because your resume would be, it will take more time to read your resume. The 2 page resume worked out for me, so you can go for that if you do not have a single page resume. Just make sure that you are highlighting everything crystal clear. I'm also going to give my resume link in the description of this video. You can go ahead and check that out. I may hide the sensitive information from my resume, but you will get a gist what I have added in my resume. And this resume got me into Salesforce, it got me into Google, and it got me into Amazon as well. So if you want, you can check that out. Now let's move to my interview experience. So once you get shortlisted and once you get a call from a Google recruiter, they'll tell you everything about the role that you have applied for, what is the expectation on that role, and they also ask you the questions about your past experience and everything, and then they'll schedule a online interview round with you, and they also call it the technical screening round. The reason they call it the screening round is because based on your performance in this round, they decide whether you will sit in the on-site interviews or not. So I got a call for this online technical screening round, and this was like a coding interview. A Google engineer joined that call, and he also shared a Google Docs with me where he pasted the problem statement. We talked very briefly about ourselves, like in the initial couple of minutes he introduced himself, and then he simply pasted the problem statement in that Google Doc, and he asked me to write the solution for that problem on that Google Doc itself. I already have a Google coding interview in this channel, you can check that out. I'm not sure, I think you will see a card right here. The problem that I got in my coding interview was about array manipulation. So I would say it was a medium level problem. It wasn't that easy, but it wasn't that hard either. I simply had to manipulate some array elements. So here one thing that I did, or you should also do, is you should always ask the clarifying questions to the interviewer. You should always try to find the possible edge cases. So once I had the fair idea of the problem statement, I discussed a couple of solutions that came on top of my mind with my interviewer. We both agreed on one solution, and that's when I started writing my code. So two things matters most when you write your code in a Google coding interview. The first thing is you should always try to write the most optimal solution. We'll talk more about that later on. And the second thing is your technical communication. So when you write your code, just don't be quiet and just type things out there. You should always explain the code that you are writing. So like when I was writing my for loop, I told my interviewer that this is the reason why am I writing this for loop, and this is how it's going to help me to manipulate my array elements. So always explain your code, what is the outcome of a particular line. This way your interviewer will have pretty good idea about the solutions that you are writing, and they might give you some hints as well if you are going wrong somewhere. So your technical communication matters the most when you are writing your solution in a Google coding interview. Now let's come back to the first part, and that is about writing the most optimal solution. So in some situations, or in most of the cases, it is almost difficult to come to a most optimal solution in those 40 minutes that you get. So you can start with a brute force solution. Always discuss it with your interviewer first, and then once you have the brute force solution in place, then you can start optimizing it. You don't have to directly go for the most optimal solution out there in the very first go. You can write a brute force solution in the first 20 minutes or so, and then you can think of how you can optimize the solution. This is what worked out for me, and I hope this will work out for you guys as well. So yeah, I fortunately cleared my technical screening round, and after that I got a call from my Google recruiter, and she told me that I cleared my technical screening round and now I'll be sitting in the on-site interviews. Now here the term on-site interviews doesn't mean that you will be going to a Google office and you will be giving your interviews there. Of course, this was a thing before COVID. People used to go to Google office and they used to give 5 or 6 rounds of interview in one single day. But after COVID, things changed, or at least for me, all my rounds happened online only. So my Google recruiter, she gave me the details of all the coming rounds that I can expect and what Google will expect from me in all those different rounds. So I still had 5 more rounds to go. Not 5, actually 6 more rounds to go. I had 3 more coding rounds, one system integration round, one system design round, and the last one was the Googliness round. I followed the same approach in my 3 coding rounds. I discussed the problem statement with my interviewer. I discussed the different solutions that I could think of with my interviewer, and then only I started writing my code. And when I was writing my code, I was always explaining my solution, and I used to get some hints as well. So getting hints is not a bad thing. It can, help you to come to a final solution. So, don't hesitate to take some hints from your interviewer. All these coding rounds were also 45 minutes, and I had 40 minutes to write the code in each of these interviews. My next round was the system design round, and this round focuses on designing a system from scratch. And a classic example of this is designing a parking lot system. Now here is the catch. They'll simply give you a problem statement that you need to design a parking lot system, although this was not the problem that I got. I got something very different, but let's take the same example. So they'll simply give you a problem statement, and they'll simply tell you like you need to design a parking lot system, but there's not enough requirement, right? So key to a successful system design round is to always ask the clarifying questions to your interviewer, or to get more requirements from your interviewer. For example, here you can simply ask how many floors that this parking lot will have, what type of vehicles will be storing in this parking lot system, will be storing two-wheeler, four-wheeler, or more than that. Do we also support check-in and check-out, and all type of questions. So you get the gist here, right? So you always need to get more requirements from your interviewer. Your interviewer will simply paste the problem statement, and from his side the work is done. He will expect you to ask these questions so that he can give you more details. So ask as many questions that you want so that you can get the complete requirement set, and after that you can start designing the solution. The solutions that you will design will involve designing your backend schema, and here you also need to choose your database, like whether you'll go for the NoSQL database or SQL database, or something like in-memory database like Redis. Then you also need your OOPS skill here, so you don't have to write the solution for this new system that you are designing, but you still need to define or give an overview of your class structure, your interface structure, or what type of different methods that you will have. So here you need to simply describe like I'm going to have so and so interfaces, like I may have an interface called vehicle, and my classes will extend this interface and will have multiple type of vehicles like two-wheeler, four-wheeler, and so on, and the different type of methods that you will have like check-in, check-out, and all that type of stuff. So your OOPS skill will matter here. If you haven't worked with the OOPS programming language, then I would say just get some fair idea of it, else you can go for the different type of solutions as well. Along with all these, you also need to show the complete application flow. Like the application flow will start from this point and this will end on this point. Like when a user will be coming in, he'll be calling this check-in method, then we'll call a method to store the vehicle, then check out the vehicle, or whatever the application flow that you will have. So that's about the system design round, and this was also a 45 minutes round where you get 40 minutes to discuss your solution approach or the system that you are designing. After that, I had the system integration round, and this round focuses more on your integration skills. The problem statement that you might expect in this round are like how you can keep two systems in sync. Like when you insert the data in system A, it will automatically go to system B, and when you insert the data in system B, how it can automatically come into system A. What if the link between these two systems breaks? How you can have the disaster management strategy, or how you can process the records that were missed in sync, and all that type of stuff. Along with this, you can also expect the different type of integration strategies like fire and forget, where you'll simply make a call and forget about it, or other strategy could be like when you simply make a call out and then wait for the response from the other system. So everything that you worked so far on the integration side of things will be helpful in this interview round. So this was also a 45 minutes interview, and you can discuss your solution for 40 minutes, and in the rest 5 minutes you can have a general talk with your interviewer. The key to a successful system integration round is again to ask as many clarifying questions as you want, and also to defend your solution. So when you come to a solution, try to defend it, and at the same time also try to incorporate the ideas of the interviewer. First, try to show the confidence in your solution if you believe it's the right solution. So just try to defend it, and at the same time, if you think like any of the interviewer's idea is also going to help your solution, then you can incorporate those as well. So yeah, that's about the system integration round. And after that, the last round was on the googliness, and this is also called the GNL round. So every interviewer, irrespective of what position you are applying for, has to go through the googliness interview. In this interview, they'll simply check whether you are a good fit for Google or not. So irrespective of your technical skills, they'll check whether you share the same set of values that all the other Google employees has, or whether you believe in doing the right thing or not. So irrespective of your performance in the previous interviews that you had so far, this googliness interview can still break things. So let's say you have done so well in your previous 5 interviews and you are super technical, but if Google think that you might not be a good fit for Google in this GNL round or googliness round, then most probably you'll get a no as the outcome of your complete interview process. Here you'll get the behavioral set of questions like what if you are working more than 10 hours a day? How you will handle this situation? What if you and your colleague are working on the same project and you are not satisfied with your colleague's performance, or maybe your colleague is slowing you down? So how you will handle this situation? So all this type of behavioral questions you can expect in googliness interview. You can search for GNL round on Google and you will find a lot of questions out there. So when they put you into a situation, just think about it first. Think what you will actually do when you will be in that situation, or what you actually did when you were in that situation, and give an honest answer. You might think that this honest answer will not get you into Google, but it might get you into Google as well. So just don't lie in this interview. Believe me, they'll find it out. So always give your honest answer, and I would say best of luck for this round. For me, this was the toughest round so far, and this was a 30 minutes round, and we discussed these questions for I guess for 25 minutes or so, and then we discussed some other things as well. So that is my complete Google interview experience. One thing that I would say is like my recruiter, she was helping me throughout my interview experience. She was giving me the detailed feedback of each and every interview that I had, what I did well, what I did wrong, and how could I improve this in my coming interviews. So you can also talk to a recruiter and get the detailed feedback of each and every interview round that you will be having in Google. So yeah, after all these interviews, I got a call from my recruiter that so far the outcome of all my interviews were positive, and my candidate packet is being sent to SC, which is the hiring committee. Now this team reads through your candidate packet and they read the outcome or the feedback of each and every interviewer for your previous interviews, and they'll make a final judgment call whether you are selected in Google or not. And for me, it was a yes. I got selected in Google and I joined Google on 2nd of November 2020. And then I left Google as well. So that's a story for another video. So let's start with a simple introduction of mine. So let's start with a simple introduction of mine. तो मैं रिकॉर्डिंग नहीं कर पाऊंगा. So you can check out that video right here.
I'm not sure it will come.
But that didn't work out. But it didn't work out.